So Dumb and Dumber 2 is the long-awaited sequel to Dumb and Dumber 1. And I absolutely love Dumb and Dumber 1. It is, in my opinion, one of the funniest movies that has been ever made. I love this movie so much. I know all the quotes. I grew up with it, and it stars, as I said before, Jim Carrey, who's one of my heroes. And I was anticipating this movie like crazy because A, I was happy to see Harry and Lloyd back together again, and B, because it's a sequel to Dumb and Dumber 2. But at the same time, I had some skepticism going into it, mainly because it was directed by the Farrelly brothers. Now, don't get me wrong, I used to be a huge fan of the Farrelly brothers. I loved Kingpin, Something About Mary, Fever Pitch. What was the other one? I know it's off the top of Me, Myself, and Irene. That's what it was. Yeah. Used to love their stuff, but after Fever Pitch, they just stopped doing. They started making like shitty movies, like Heartbreak Kid and Hall Pass and so forth. And I was worried that Dumb and Dumber 2 would fall into the category of shit. Thank God, Dumb and Dumber 2 is actually good. I absolutely enjoyed the living hell out of this movie. Now, I want to say this like straight off the bat. Is it as good as the first Dumb and Dumber movie? No, it's not. Because the first Dumb and Dumber is such a classic. I mean, we all have it. I guess I feel like every '90s kid in the world has it like implemented in our brains, and we hold that movie to a high standard. So, a sequel clearly won't be better than it, but I at least thought it was still pretty damn close. I thought it was pretty funny. But the sort of plot of Dumb and Dumber 2 is that it takes place 20 years after the events of Dumb and Dumber 1, and Harry and Lloyd are doing their Harry and Lloyd isms. They're pulling pranks on each other. They're now 50-year-olds acting like 10-year-olds, as opposed to Dumb and Dumber 1, which they were like mid 30-year-olds acting like 10-year-olds. And Lloyd finds out that Harry needs a kidney transplant, and as this is unraveling, Harry finds an old letter from like his ex lover, who is Frida Felcher. And if you've seen Dumb Dumb One, you know who she is. And she tells Harry in this letter that he had a kid, and um, and she's now sort of like fully grown up. So Harry and Lloyd decide they're going to go all around the country to track her down and hopefully get the kidney, and all the crazy road trip insanity ensues. You know what I mean? So, like I said before, this movie is just straight up hilarious. It is classic Dumb and Dumber in every way, shape, and form, and that's what makes this movie so hilarious. I think, you know what I mean. It's the fact that seeing Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels be these characters again and giving you this sort of sense of nostalgia to it. You know what I mean? It made me so giddy inside. You know what I mean? And that was incredible. It was just fun to watch. I mean, it's just fun to see Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels just act just as immature as possible, pushing each other through stuff and things like that. It's great, and they're like they're in their 50s, mid 50s ish, and they still got it. I love that. That's pretty great, and just also the fact that there are a lot of sort of like callbacks to the original Dumb and Dumber, because this movie's pretty much Dumb and Dumber 1, only with slightly different things. You know what I mean? Which I'm fine with, because the movie's pretty much a walk down nostalgia lane, and that's great. That's what I expected. But there are some certain callbacks to familiar scenes from the first Dumb and Dumber. That's all I'm gonna say. And I guess the only criticisms I do have of the movie, aside from the fact that I was like, oh, it's not as good as the first Dumb and Dumber, but I still like it, was the fact that some of the jokes in this movie kind of do feel a little forced. I think, the whole majority of the time I was laughing. Other times I was like, yeah, this is funny, but it does feel kind of forced, I think. But just aside from that, Dumb and Dumber 2 is a fun sequel. It is like I said, a walk down nostalgia lane, and if you're a fan of Dumb and Dumber movies, you'll love it, because you'll love to see the nostalgia of what you remember from Dumb and Dumber 1. And it's great to see the Farrelly Brothers doing something good again. You know what I mean? It's I think the Farrelly Brothers have clearly learned their lesson from doing Hall Pass and Three Stooges and Movie 43 and Heartbreak Kid and so forth. So that's my take on it. So I'm gonna give Dumb and Dumber 2 a B. I suggest you check it out if you're a fan. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on Dumb and Dumber 2. So what is your favorite line from Dumb and Dumber? We all have a favorite line. Uh, my favorite line from Dumb and Dumber 1 is, "Let's put a shrimp on the barbie." That's shitty Australian accent, but anyways, that's my sort of 2 cents on Dumb and Dumber 2. So what do you think? Comment below, let me know, and subscribe and like.